Welcome back on Gaming. This is Devin, and what a PlayStation showcase, huh? They showed Spider-Man 2, Metal Gear Solid Collection, uh, games that are coming out in 2024, 2025 with no specific date. Always love that. And, Splatoon clone, some very disappointing hardware coming out. So all that good stuff. But one of the most important things about that showcase was the stuff that they didn't talk about. And the main thing that they didn't talk about was the Last of Us multiplayer factions, multiplayer 2, whatever they're calling it now. But yeah, they just didn't talk about it at all, which was very, very interesting just because a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be talked about. I did as well. And it's just very weird just because we haven't seen much about it. We've seen a couple of photos and artwork and that, but just never have seen anything really about it. So this would be the best time, I think, to go ahead and show some of that, but nothing about it. The only thing that we saw that was really big from Sony or their developers was Spider-Man 2, which makes of course a ton of sense. But where's the Last of Us multiplayer? Then I believe a day afterwards, Naughty Dog finally spoke on it, and there was an article by Bloomberg afterwards as well, which I forgot which one came out first, but let's first look at the Naughty Dog one, which of course they're talking about how they are really working on it. They're still working on it, and they want to make sure that everything with it is going to be good when it comes out, which of course makes sense because the Last of Us on PC is just horrible, and they're still working on that, so that makes a lot of sense. Then when we go ahead to the Bloomberg article, of course, they talk about how they're taking people away from the Last of Us multiplayer to go ahead and put them on their new IP or Last of Us Part 3, which, of course, makes a lot of sense to go ahead and get that going. But, I mean, in that case, I guess it sort of sounds like that it's finishing up just because, they don't need as many people on that. But the other thing too is that it's sort of concerning just because, the main thing is we don't know where it's at right now. We don't know how far along it is. I would assume that was being created as The Last of Us Part 2 was being worked on in that, but it just doesn't really seem like it's anywhere. I don't know. Like I said, we haven't seen anything really of this game, so it could be either a good thing or a bad thing that they're taking people away from it. And then the other part of it was that they had Bungie go ahead and look at it, and they say that there's not really much that will keep people playing this game for years and years. So that's another very concerning thing because it'll just come out, or if it does come out, people aren't going to be playing it that long. So yeah, sort of lose for everything there. And then the other thing too that I think is something that's really going to hurt it is that if it does not come out with something Last of Us related, just because it would have been a great time for it to come out, of course, with The Last of Us Part 2, or even The Last of Us Definitive Edition, whatever one that was put on the PS5, the remake, remaster, whatever it was, or around the time that the TV show was out, the HBO season. But for it to just come out by itself, yeah, I really think that it would struggle if it just came out by itself. I think it would do decent, but then of course, with what Bungie said, keeping people engaged, what does it even matter if it's not going to keep people playing it? But it's really going to struggle, I think, if it just comes out by itself. But aside from that, I guess the only things that can happen with this multiplayer is that they could either go ahead, have it come out as is, and I think that would be pretty bad just because it would be another bad thing that Naughty Dog has released, or they can go ahead and shelve it for something else, or of course, what I personally think that they're going to go ahead and do with it, I think they're just going to cancel it. It makes no sense for them to go ahead and release this, either as is or with half the people working on it. I just don't see the point of having this come out anymore. And, by the time that it would actually come out, what year would it be? And would it even matter? The perfect I think the perfect thing would have been for them to do is just go ahead and had the multiplayer with the remaster or whatever of The Last of Us, just because that would have made people want to buy it. And I don't really think that they needed to have the remake remaster of the Last of Us one on PS5 come out necessarily around the HBO show. They could have just had it come out by itself. And I think it would have been a long enough time. And then people would have really loved it if they would have just had like a remake or something of the factions with that, just because that was what a lot of people were bummed out about, was that factions was not included with that remake remaster. So I think that would have been the perfect way to have it come out. But we all know that didn't happen, and you know, yeah. But anyways, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that this is ever going to see the light of day, or just gonna get canceled? But let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.